Right now, as you listen to my voice, you are likely sitting still. You might feel the solid weight of the chair beneath you. You might see the walls of your room standing rigid and unmoving. Outside, the ground feels firm, and the stars above seem fixed in their eternal positions. But this sense of stillness is the greatest deception the universe has ever played on the human mind. It is a lie. The reality of your existence is far more violent and far more terrifying than your senses allow you to perceive. At this exact second, the Earth is spinning on its axis at 1,000 miles per hour. We are orbiting the Sun at 67,000 miles per hour. The Sun itself is dragging us through the Milky Way at nearly 500,000 miles per hour. But even these speeds are insignificant compared to a darker, more powerful motion that underlies everything. If you strip away the spin of the Earth and the orbit of the Sun and the rotation of the galaxy, you are left with a residual velocity that shouldn't exist. You are left with a single, terrifying vector. We, along with our entire galaxy and thousands of our neighbors, are hurtling through the deep void at 1.3 million miles per hour. We are falling. We are being dragged across the universe by a gravitational force so colossal that it defies imagination. Astronomers call it the Great Attractor. It is a monster hiding in the dark, a titan of gravity that is reeling us in like a fish on a line. But the most disturbing part isn't the speed, it isn't the size. It is the silence. Because when we point our most powerful telescopes toward the thing that is pulling us, we see absolutely nothing. We are rushing toward a blind spot, a region of space obscured by thick walls of dust and gas, hidden from our view by the very galaxy we live in. We are flying blind into the heart of a gravitational storm. What is waiting for us in the dark? Is it a supermassive black hole? Is it a tear in the fabric of reality? Or is it something that physics has yet to explain? Tonight we strip away the illusion of stillness. We begin a journey into the zone of avoidance to confront the invisible giant that controls our destiny. The story of this discovery begins not with sight, but with temperature. In the 1970s, astronomers were mapping the cosmic microwave background radiation. This is the ancient afterglow of the Big Bang, the oldest light in the universe. According to the standard model of cosmology, this light should be uniform. It should be equally warm in every direction, a perfect, smooth blanket covering the cosmos. But it wasn't. When the data came back, it revealed a scar on the face of the universe. One side of the sky was slightly warmer than the average. The opposite side was slightly cooler. This phenomenon is called a dipole anisotropy. To understand it, imagine driving a car through a rainstorm. The rain hitting the front windshield strikes harder and faster, creating more heat. The rain hitting the back window is gentler. The universe was telling us that we are moving. We are plowing through the fabric of space-time, heading toward the constellations of Hydra and Centaurus. This discovery shattered the idea that we were drifting aimlessly. We are not drifting. We are being pulled. According to Newton's laws, an object does not accelerate to millions of miles per hour unless a massive force acts upon it. Gravity is the engine of the cosmos. For the Milky Way to be moving this fast, there must be a concentration of mass equivalent to tens of thousands of galaxies sitting just over the horizon, sucking us in. But here lies the cosmic tragedy. The direction of this pull lies directly along the plane of the Milky Way. Our own galaxy is blocking the view. The center of our galaxy is a thick soup of dust, stars, and gas that visible light cannot penetrate. Astronomers call this region the zone of avoidance. It covers 20% of our sky. It is a curtain drawn across the window, hiding 1/5 of the universe from our eyes. And behind that curtain, in the deepest shadow, sits the Great Attractor. For decades, this was where the mystery stalled. We knew we were moving, We knew something huge was there, but we were powerless to see it. It was like standing on a railroad track in thick fog, feeling the vibrations of an approaching train, but seeing only white mist. We needed a way to see through the dust. We needed to map the invisible. And in the late 1980s, a group of astronomers known as the Seven Samurai decided to do the impossible. They realized that even if we couldn't see the monster, we could see its shadow. We could measure how it affected everything around it. They began to map the motion of hundreds of galaxies surrounding us. They treated galaxies like particles of dust floating in a river. By watching how the galaxies swirled and accelerated, they could pinpoint where the drain was. What they found was a river of matter far larger than anyone had predicted. It wasn't just us. The Andromeda Galaxy, the Virgo Cluster, the Avoidance Supercluster. Everything within hundreds of millions of light-years was caught in the same current. We were all sliding down the same slope, rushing toward a single invisible point in the zone of avoidance. The realization that millions of galaxies were flowing like water changed everything. It meant that the Great Attractor was not a myth. It was real, and it was titanic. But knowing it existed was not enough. We had to see it. We had to look the monster in the eye. Since visible light was useless against the dust of the zone of avoidance, astronomers turned to a different tool. They turned to X-rays. Unlike visible light, X-rays can punch through cosmic dust like a bullet through smoke. In the 1990s, the Rosat satellite began a systematic scan of the forbidden zone. It was a tedious, slow process, peeling back the layers of the Milky Way one by one. But then, deep in the data, a shape began to form. Roughly 220 million light-years away, buried in the thickest part of the dust, lay a massive knot of galaxies. It was named the Norma Cluster. To the untrained eye, it looked like a chaotic smear of light. But to astrophysicists, it was a revelation. The Norma Cluster is dense, rich, and massive. It is a swarm of thousands of galaxies buzzing around a gravitational center, screaming with X-ray energy. For a brief moment, the scientific community exhaled. They believed they had found the culprit. They believed the Norma Cluster was the Great Attractor. The puzzle seemed solved. We are falling because this massive city of galaxies is pulling us, but the universe is rarely so kind. As researchers began to weigh the Norma Cluster, the celebration turned to confusion. The math simply did not add up. The Norma Cluster is heavy, yes. It has the mass of a quadrillion suns. That sounds like a lot, but on the scale of the cosmic river we are caught in, a quadrillion suns is nothing. It is a pebble trying to stop a tsunami. To generate the speed at which we are moving, that terrified 600 kilometers per second, the Great Attractor needs to be 10 times more massive than the Norma Cluster. The object we found was just the tip of the iceberg. It was a decoy. The real monster was still out there, hiding even deeper in the dark, further behind the dust. The river of galaxies wasn't stopping at Norma, it was flowing past it. So the search continued. We looked deeper. We looked past the Norma Cluster into the abyss beyond. And in 2005, we found the true giant. Sitting 650 million light-years away, lurking in the shadows behind the Great Attractor, is a structure that defies comprehension. The Shapley Supercluster. If the Norma Cluster is a city, the Shapley Supercluster is a continent. It is the most massive concentration of galaxies in our local universe. It is a beast containing more than 8,000 galaxies packed into a ball of gravitational fury. Its pull is so strong that it dominates the motion of everything within a billion light-years. When Shapley was discovered, astronomers realized that the Great Attractor might not be a single object at all. It might just be a region of space, a valley between us and the true mountain that is Shapley. We are falling toward Norma, and Norma is falling toward Shapley. It seemed like a hierarchy of giants, but here is the most disturbing part. Even when we add the mass of the Great Attractor and the mass of the Shapley Supercluster together, it is still not enough. It accounts for maybe half of our velocity. We are moving too fast. The pull is too violent. This forces us to confront a darker reality. The visible matter, the stars, the gas, the dust, is just the icing on the cake. The gravity we feel is not coming from the light we can see. It is coming from the shadow. To understand why we are being dragged across the universe, we have to talk about the invisible skeleton of the cosmos. We have to talk about dark matter. Imagine the universe as a dark room. The galaxies are tiny Christmas lights strung up on a massive, invisible tree. We can see the lights, but we cannot see the branches supporting them. The Great Attractor is a place where the branches of this invisible tree are thickest. It is a knot in the dark matter web. We are drifting through a sea of this invisible substance. It passes through the earth, through your house, and through your body at this very moment, leaving no trace. Yet without it, the galaxy would fly apart. The Great Attractor is not just a pile of stars. It is a gravity well dug by dark matter. And as we slide down into this well, we are discovering that the map of the universe is much larger and much stranger than we ever imagined. We are not just isolated clusters. We are part of a living organism of light and gravity. And in 2014, we finally learned the name of the body we live in. In 2014, a team led by astronomer Brent Tully at the University of Hawaii changed our address forever. They stopped looking at where galaxies were located and started looking at how they moved. They realized that trying to map the universe by just looking at the positions of galaxies is like trying to map the geography of the Earth by just looking at houses. You miss the landscape, you miss the mountains and the valleys. So they decided to map the streamlines of gravity. Imagine dropping a leaf into a stream and watching where it flows. If you drop a leaf on one side of a mountain, it flows into the Atlantic Ocean. If you drop it on the other side, it flows into the Pacific. The ridge between them is the boundary. The team applied this logic to the cosmos. They traced the paths of thousands of galaxies to see where gravity was taking them. What they found was a structure so vast it defies belief. We are not just a random group of galaxies near the Great Attractor. We are part of a colossal supercluster that spans 520 million light-years. It contains 100,000 galaxies. It has the mass of 100 quadrillion suns. They named this structure Laniakea. In Hawaiian, it means immeasurable heaven. This discovery fundamentally changed our understanding of the Great Attractor. For decades, we thought the Great Attractor was a physical object, a dense ball of matter hidden in the dust. But under the map of Laniakea, the truth is more subtle. The Great Attractor is not a mountain, it is a valley. It is the gravitational bottom of the basin. Laniakea is the watershed, and the Great Attractor is the drain at the center. Every galaxy we see, the Milky Way, Andromeda, the Triaculum, is sliding down the slopes of this gravitational basin. We are all tributaries feeding into the same river, rushing toward that central point in the zone of avoidance. We are connected. We are part of a single, breathing organism of light and gravity. The Great Attractor is simply the heart of the beast. But just as we began to feel a sense of belonging, just as we realized we are citizens of this immeasurable heaven, physics delivered a crushing blow, a realization that turns this grand journey into a cosmic tragedy. We are falling toward the Great Attractor at incredible speeds. We are rushing to meet our neighbors in the center of Laniakea. But the math tells us something heartbreaking. We will never get there. The universe is playing a cruel game with us. While gravity is trying to pull everything together, dark energy is pushing everything apart. The space between galaxies is stretching. The universe is expanding, and it is accelerating. The Great Attractor is fighting a battle it cannot win. It is a dying giant. Currently, its gravity is strong enough to pull us in. But the expansion of the universe is relentless. The ground beneath our feet is stretching faster than we can run. In a few billion years, the Laniakea Supercluster will not condense into a glorious megagalaxy. Instead, it will be torn apart. The filaments of the web will snap. The valleys will flatten out. The immeasurable heaven will dissolve into lonely islands of light, separated by expanding oceans of darkness. We are rushing toward a party that is ending before we even arrive. The Great Attractor is trying to hold its family together, but the fabric of reality is ripping at the seams. However, the story does not end with the death of Laniakea. As astronomers looked deeper into the data, they found that even this picture was incomplete. We are moving fast, yes, but gravity from the Great Attractor and Shapley can only explain the pull. It cannot explain the speed. To move this fast, something else must be happening. We aren't just being pulled from the front. We are being pushed from behind. In 2017, a team of researchers from Hebrew University, France, and Hawaii uncovered a truth that turned our map inside out. They realized that the Great Attractor and the Shapley Supercluster, despite their immense size, were not strong enough to explain our full velocity. The math still had a hole in it. We were moving too fast. It was as if someone was pushing us from behind, and that is exactly what they found. By mapping the flow of galaxies with higher precision than ever before, they discovered a region of space directly opposite the Great Attractor. But this region was not a cluster. It was not a heavy object. It was a ghost town. It was a massive emptiness known as a cosmic void. They named it the dipole repeller. In the strange physics of the large-scale universe, an empty void can act just as powerfully as a massive star cluster, but in the opposite direction. Gravity attracts. But the absence of gravity repels. Imagine a crowded room. If one side of the room is packed with people and the other side is completely empty, the crowd will naturally expand and flow toward the empty space. But in gravity, it works in reverse. Matter flows away from the empty regions and toward the dense ones. The dipole repeller is a vast, spherical void, almost completely devoid of galaxies. Because it is so empty, it exerts no gravitational pull. The dense regions on the other side of us, the Great Attractor and Shapley, are pulling us with tremendous force. But because there is nothing behind us to hold us back, we are effectively being pushed away from the void. We are caught in a cosmic tug-of-war, but one side has let go of the rope. The dipole repeller is shoving the Milky Way away, while the Great Attractor is reeling us in. This push and pull mechanism finally explains why our galaxy is moving at such a frantic speed of 600 kilometers per second. We are surfing a gravitational wave created by the extreme contrast between the nothingness behind us and the monster ahead of us. This discovery adds a layer of profound loneliness to our journey. Not only are we falling toward a destination we will never reach, but we are also fleeing from a region of absolute emptiness. We are running away from the void. As if the map wasn't complicated enough, the universe had one more secret to reveal, hidden in the shadows. In July of 2020, just when we thought we had identified all the major players, astronomers found another giant. And this one was hiding in the last place we looked. While the Great Attractor is hidden by the dust of the Milky Way's center, this new structure was hidden by the dust of the celestial South Pole. It is a massive curtain of galaxies stretching across 200 degrees of the sky. It is so large that we are sitting right next to it, yet we missed it for decades because it wraps around us like a crescent moon. They call it the South Pole Wall. It lies about 500 million light-years away, rivaling the size of the Great Attractor itself. It is a dense wall of thousands of galaxies, forming a boundary to our local cosmic neighborhood. The discovery of the South Pole Wall reminds us of our own blindness. Even in the 21st century, with our space telescopes and supercomputers, we are still like children, waking up in a dark room, feeling around the walls, trying to understand the shape of the house we live in. We are surrounded by titans, the Great Attractor ahead of us, the Shapley Supercluster behind it, the dipole repeller pushing from the rear, and now the South Pole Wall fencing us in from the side. We are small, we are hemmed in, and we are moving faster every second. But even with all these giants identified, there is one final piece of evidence that refuses to fit. One piece of data that suggests the map we have drawn is still too small. However, the mystery does not end with the South Pole Wall. In fact, it reaches a level that challenges the very laws of physics. As astronomers zoomed out even further, looking at data from the WMAP satellite, which measures the heat of the Big Bang, they noticed a pattern that shouldn't be there. Even after accounting for the Great Attractor, the Shapley Supercluster, the dipole repeller, and the South Pole Wall, there was still a residual motion. It wasn't just us. It wasn't just Laniakea. Huge clusters of galaxies extending out to distances of 3 billion light-years were all drifting in the same direction. They were moving at a staggering speed of 1,000 kilometers per second relative to the cosmic background. This phenomenon has been dubbed dark flow. Dark flow represents the ultimate frontier of our ignorance. It breaks the standard model of cosmology. According to our best theories, on a scale this large, the universe should be random. There should be no preferred direction. Motions should cancel each other out. But dark flow suggests that the entire observable universe is sliding sideways. The most terrifying part of dark flow is where it is headed. The clusters are rushing toward a specific patch of sky between the constellations of Centaurus and Vela. But when we look there, even with our deepest instruments, we see no object large enough to cause this. The Great Attractor is in that direction, but it is far too small to affect galaxies 3 billion light-years away. The Shapley Supercluster is too small. The South Pole Wall is too small. This leads to a conclusion that sends shivers down the spine of even the most hardened astrophysicist. The source of this pull lies beyond the horizon. The observable universe is a bubble, roughly 93 billion light-years across. We can only see things within this bubble because light has had enough time to reach us since the Big Bang. But the universe doesn't stop at the edge of our vision. It continues. And dark flow implies that there is a monster lurking out there in the unobservable regions of space-time that is dragging our entire bubble toward it. What could be that big? What kind of structure could be massive enough to pull a chunk of the universe 3 billion light-years wide? Some theorists suggest it is a relic from the moments before the Big Bang, an imbalance in the fabric of space itself created during cosmic inflation. But others suggest something even stranger. They propose that we are feeling the gravitational tug of a neighboring universe. This is the multiverse theory made tangible. Imagine our universe is just one bubble floating in a sea of bubbles. Occasionally, these bubbles might drift close to one another. If a neighboring universe, massive and dense, came close enough to ours, we wouldn't be able to see it. Light cannot travel between the bubbles, but gravity can. We would feel a ghostly pull, dragging everything in our cosmos toward the boundary wall. Dark flow might be the first physical evidence that we are not alone in the multiverse. We are like sailors on a vast ocean, feeling the pull of a deep-sea current, knowing that it is carrying us toward a shore that is hidden forever behind the fog. We are being dragged by a hand we cannot see, belonging to a body that might not even exist in our dimension. This realization fundamentally changes the nature of the Great Attractor. It might just be a small eddy in a much larger river. We worried about falling into the Great Attractor, not realizing that the Great Attractor itself is being pulled by something far worse. We are nested in layers of motion. The Earth orbits the Sun. The Sun orbits the galaxy. The galaxy falls toward Laniakea. Laniakea flows toward the Great Attractor, and the Great Attractor falls toward the edge of the world. We are transient guests on a ship that is following a course plotted by gravity 13 billion years ago. We are moving through the dark not because we chose to, but because the structure of reality demands it. And as we look at the data, one question remains unanswered. If we are all flowing toward the edge, what happens when we get there? So, where does this leave us? We began this journey with a simple observation, the feeling of stillness. But we end it with a vertigo-inducing reality. We have peeled back the layers of the onion, and with each layer, the universe has grown larger, faster, and more indifferent to our existence. We found that the Earth is not a fixed point. It is a ship caught in a storm. We are orbiting a star that is drifting through a galaxy. That galaxy is plunging into a valley named Laniakea. Laniakea is being pushed by a void called the dipole repeller and pulled by a monster called the Great Attractor. And the Great Attractor itself is sliding toward the edge of the observable map, carried by the mysterious dark flow. It is a hierarchy of motion that never ends. There is no solid ground. There is no anchor. The Great Attractor stands as a monument to the limits of human knowledge. It sits there, hidden behind the dust, reminding us that we do not live in a static, safe cosmos. We live in a dynamic, violent, and rushing river of space-time. We are inhabitants of a small blue planet orbiting an average yellow star, lost in the spiral arm of a galaxy that is dying a slow death by merger, sliding down the gravitational slopes of a supercluster that is being torn apart by dark energy. We are flying through the void at speeds that defy imagination, guided by forces we cannot see, toward a destination we will never reach. To some, this realization is terrifying. It makes us feel small. It makes our daily worries, our politics, our wars, and our history seem infinitesimally unimportant. Against the backdrop of the Shapley Supercluster, what is the lifespan of a human being? Against the pull of the dark flow, what is the significance of a single planet? But perhaps there is a strange comfort in this motion. We are not isolated, we are not stagnant, we are not forgotten in a corner of the sky. We are connected. We are part of a grand cosmic flow. A dance of gravity that has been playing out for 13.8 billion years. The forces that pull the galaxies are the same forces that hold your feet to the ground. We are connected to the Great Attractor, just as we are connected to the dark matter that binds the web and the dark energy that tears it apart. We are made of the same atoms that are being dragged across the universe. We are simply the universe experiencing its own journey. The silence of the night sky is not empty. It is pregnant with energy. It is a silence full of movement. Tonight, as you lie in the stillness of your room, let go of the need for solid ground. Embrace the drift. Remember that stillness is an illusion, but it is a beautiful one. You are a traveler. You are moving through the deep dark, along with billions of other stars, in a synchronized journey across the heavens. The Great Attractor is out there, pulling us in. The void is behind us, pushing us away. And we are here, in the middle, floating in the current, safe in the vastness of the stream. The universe is vast. The mysteries are endless. And as we drift through the silent night, the journey continues. Sleep well.